Hi, I'm Kat, and I'm in the BA test kitchen to have a super secret conversation about Chris Morocco. Once again, we're putting Chris's super taster abilities to the test. This is Maangchi's Budae Jjigae, also known as army-based stew. I'm challenging Chris to recreate this dish using all the ingredients in just one day. He'll be able to taste it, touch it, smell it, but at no point will he be able to see this dish. At the end of the day, we'll be able to see his final creation, and I'll be the judge.
Do I have to put the tassels on, or are those like an optional accessory? Whoa, interesting. Sort of like a palette of flavors that sort of put me in the mind of like garlic ginger scallion, and then also like braised pork. Whoa, 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 whoa! The kind of thing that's like a cooking vessel and serving vessel in one. Cooking something or assembling something directly in like a hot earthenware vessel is like part of the foundational technique of the dish. I'm thinking specifically about like dulsat bibimbap. Wow, so I'm getting a lot of what seems to be like raw garlic and some kind of wheat-based noodle. I'm getting like a medium spicy, I would assume pork sausage. And what's this? A rice cake? It's like a garlicky, oily drizzle. Whoa. That I would call pork belly. Sort of has the texture of bacon, but without the intensity of bacon. Wow, this is like quite the grab bag of things, huh? So we've got tofu. I have no idea what that is. Maybe it's Spam? I don't know that I've ever had Spam. Is this me having Spam? It's functioning almost like a very like emulsified sausage. Kimchi, the way the stem presents after it's been fermented, it loses a lot of moisture, it gets like more intense and concentrated. God, that is good. What is that? Is that a bean? It tastes like a Campbell's baked bean. This feels like seafood, almost like octopus. Could this be a tinned product as well that's also represented in here? That felt like it was a starch-based noodle, like a glass noodle. Previous noodle that I had seemed to be a wheat-based noodle, less chew, but still like quite springy. You know, like bok choy, like the dark leafy part. I think this is a Korean dish because it feels like the broth itself could be a dashi-based broth, which uses dried anchovy as well as kombu. And then there's also the presence of the sliced rice cakes as being, you know, kind of very indicative of the potential to be a Korean dish as well. It feels like an unlikely juxtaposition of things. I do not have an idea of the chef. Tassel down. I need to get cracking making an ingredient list and then have my first attempt. Oh, Jesus. Fuck. There's a lot of elements here. I'm gonna start with the broth, kombu, salted anchovy. Then I think we need to build the soup, scallions, garlic, gochugaru, the Korean chili flake, gochujang, kielbasa / andouille, rice cakes, pork belly. We need kimchi, creamy firm tofu, Spam. We need American baked beans, bok choy, tinned octopus or abalone, kind of ramen type noodle, and then like a mung bean or potato starch noodle. This is certainly the biggest ingredient list I've had in a very long time. All right, it is time to take my first shot at the dish. So there's a lot of things here. You know, you see the presence of foods like Spam in Pacific Islands, in Hawaii, in Japan, you know, because of like American troops stationed in these places. I imagine something similar could be going on with Korea, right? I'm going to take some kombu. Kombu is kelp. Put it in a pot with some water, let it kind of soak and hydrate while I'm fishing out the innards of those anchovies. We're just gonna take some of the heads off. What I noticed was that like there was a lot of flavor coming from the broth, but it wasn't necessarily coming from like pork. The broth itself didn't have tons of like kind of like fatty richness. I can't remember when these are supposed to go in, but let's just assume now. My hunch is that dashi forms the base of the broth that I'm trying to recreate right now. Is there a bowl that I can have? Hey, what's up?
You see it? Oh.
Made in Japan. Sliced yellow onion here. I'm gonna make like a fast little like garlic oil thing. In my mind, there is this very punchy, garlicky drizzle being put onto this thing before it gets served. The anchovy has not really fully softened yet. The kombu certainly has. It tastes surprisingly meaty. I feel like I had a section of scallion. We've got like our bok choy leaves. I'm not sure if this is correct or not. Felt like there could be some like leaf. So when I think of andouille sausage, I think of something that's like a good bit spicier than kielbasa. Kielbasa is a little on the milder side. So now Spam. I mean, yeah. It's got a very particular smell. More like braised pork than like ham in a lot of ways. This is uncured pork belly. It's pretty remarkably versatile. I'm gonna cut the tofu now. I think once you get this in the broth, it's gonna, kind of soften. It's certainly gonna absorb a lot of the flavors of the broth. God, I love these things. So these are rice cakes, or tok. We're gonna do our glass noodles first. A glass noodle is a noodle that uses starch instead of flour. Not usually quite as bouncy, chewy as a wheat-based noodle. It like truly looks like glass, The dashi has been strained, the kombu and the anchovy has been removed, and now I just have the dashi liquid right here. A little bit tan, a little bit blush. So I'm just trying to fish the noodles out, and I want to get this under some cold water just so I can stop the cooking process. The million-dollar question is, do we live in a world in which, glass noodles and wheat noodles would ever coexist in a dish? Knowing that Shin is a Korean company certainly makes me feel like it's at least a little bit more possible that like you'd have like wheat noodle and a glass noodle. We're gonna start with the pork belly. Just the fibers of my DNA are screaming for me to give that a little bit of a head start in terms of rendering some of that fat in there. The order of operations in terms of like, you could put all these ingredients together like 10 different ways. And a lot of how you do it has to do with, your own kind of cooking intuition and your experience built up over time. And a lot of that comes from the tradition you grew up in. Don't privilege your own knowledge, but don't discount it either. So I'm gonna turn the oil off. It's like everything's pretty evenly light golden there. I'm gonna go with about a tablespoon of gochugaru. It has a tendency to give broths like a lot of like color, depth, and of course like add some spiciness too. This is dashi going in. The decision for the minute is to not add gochujang for this first version. If you're gonna sit there and make dashi from scratch, why bother putting the gochujang in there? We need some salt. Pretty happy with the dashi actually. I think we can start to put some of these elements in here. Remind me to count the Spam next time. Got random sea creature. I rinsed the brine off of it just because like it was so lemon forward. Could this be a tinned product as well? Almost like octopus. We've also got our baked beans. Beans I think just get scattered on top. I'm a little concerned, but that's why they call it a test kitchen. The prospect of like 2 noodles in here, that's really got me freaked out. So I'm taking this off the heat now. We'll do a little drizzle of the garlic oil. This is sure to not make a difference, so that's good. So first things first, I want to try that broth. It's got a little bit of kick between like the andouille, all that gochugaru. There's a fair amount. Glass noodles, so springy, big fan. The ramen style noodle, it really has a flavor of its own. I gotta try a piece of this andouille. Andouille is hot. It really, really, really kicks. The bean. I swear to God, that's what it is. The broth to me here tastes really good on its own. The thing that would cloak it in even more flavor would be something like the gochujang. So I'm mixing a little bit of gochujang into some of the broth. I mean, it is wild what a difference it makes. Because this is already spicy, the biggest transformational quality of the gochujang is the miso element. I don't mean to say that like there's miso in here as an ingredient. I mean to say that there is fermented soybean in here, which is giving it a miso-like quality. That is enhancing the overall flavor of the dish. It's not this octopus. I'm just saying it could be an octopus. Ooh, a bean. The beans bow to no one. Just wondering if in the original it's like, was I getting a piece of like Napa where it's sort of like frillier and slightly greener? Overall, I don't hate this. Ingredients, I'm gonna go with 80. Technique, maybe 70. Appearance, 75. It's like a stewy situation. Taste, maybe I'd give myself an 80. So on this sheet of paper, I have my actual scores from the judges. I gave myself a 76 and actual score is a 77. I think things to certainly look at are like whatever this seafoody thing might be, considering the inclusion of gochujang in the next version, and then also like the garlic oil. It doesn't feel like it's adding a whole lot to this. The things we do. Yeah, two different textures. Feeling good about two different noodles. Number two, I feel like I got a scallion green sausage. The andouille was much spicier than this. I think we gotta go with kielbasa. Smaller pieces of tofu. I should cut the block in half again. I mean, it tastes like not unlike squid. It's just the piece is sort of irregular. Rubbery is here, like it's right there, you know? Okay, it's just a piece of mushroom. It's a dried mushroom that's been reconstituted as opposed to a fresh mushroom. I think we're looking at the inclusion of gochujang here, stirring in raw garlic at like the very end. So taking out the garlic oil, that can help with technique. I think that wraps up the second tasting of the original dish. I have one more shot to cook it myself and get it hopefully a little bit closer to right. I would love a sprout of some sort. I don't know what sprout it is.
If you tasted a sprout, I'll give you a sprout.
Yeah, daikon. This is a bit specific, you know, in terms of like the rules of engagement here. Sprouts freak me out a little bit. What is that? Let's assume you don't eat the bottom part. We've got dried shiitake. First order of business is we need to reconstitute these in the dashi. As the mushroom hydrates, you're extracting flavor and aroma from it. So I think I decided to take this guy out, right? We thought maybe just the green situation was just the top of the Napa. So this is kielbasa. This is, you know, a mild smoked, very rich sausage, sliced Spam. Never thought I'd say that. Our firm tofu, still going with onion here, getting pieces of onion. Garlic. I think I'm probably just gonna stir raw garlic in at the end. I definitely feel like I tasted scallion green in the original dish. Any sliced allium, it'll start to wilt like immediately the second you cut it. A damp paper towel keeps things looking perky for quite a bit longer. It's like the Bob Barker microphone. Are we still gonna start with the pork belly? I say yes. So I'm taking about a tablespoon of the gochujang and I'm gonna thin it out with some of the dashi. That is pork belly going in. I certainly feel better about the ingredients represented here than I did on the first pass. I wouldn't say I feel supremely confident. In goes the kimchi. Dashi is really nice. Mushroom definitely adds something. I want to build the right flavor in the broth. I'm feeling really good about the gochujang, the body, the viscosity, you know, that it's adding a little extra undercurrent of sweetness, as well as that ability of miso to create incredibly well-rounded flavor just with the inclusion of just a singular element. Let's drop our Spam in, 3 slices, of course. Our sausage, tofu, yeah. Rice cakes. I'm gonna fish out the nicest mushroom in the pot and slice it. Mushrooms going in, and then 7 baked beans, maybe 8. I love that. So we gotta go in with some noodle now. Gonna do some of these sprouts on top. I don't know. I mean, we gotta do something here. And then this is scallion green. Key differences, last version to this version. Single most important thing I'd say would be the inclusion of gochujang in the broth. The second thing is removing of the garlic oil as an element completely and simply adding in raw garlic at the very end. Dried shiitake reconstituted in the dashi and then sliced up and included in the dish. We changed from the andouille sausage to the kielbasa, much more mild, a little more like hot dog texture, but not in a bad way. Got rid of the bok choy. He was paying attention the whole time. I want to say we made some good decisions here, and let's go with this being an 86. I'd say technique, I still feel like we could be missing something here, so 75 feels accurate. So with the inclusion of the different greens here, maybe we could be nudging 88 for appearance. If I was at an 80 before taste-wise, I think this is significantly different. I think we could be looking at a 90 here. That puts me at an 85 all in terms of my own scores, but time to find out what the judge thinks. Got nothing when it comes to chef or name of the dish, but I feel totally at peace with that. Hello, Kat.
Hey, Chris.
How's it going?
Just here to judge you harshly.
No big deal.
May I present to you Maangchi's Budae Jjigae.
Maangchi. Maangchi strikes again. What's happening there?
Little family of beans all hanging out together.
What kind of bean?
Oh, you got the beans right.
Stop! Give me something to drop kick right now.
Okay.
Beans!
Yes. This is a Budae Jjigae, which means army base stew.
So I wasn't so wrong.
You were not, actually. You kind of really got it spot on.
Oh
well,
my
because
gosh.
most of these things, if you can notice, they come canned or
Yeah.
preserved. When the Korean War ended, there was a surplus of these leftover cans and things from the army soldiers. The Koreans found a way to use and utilize those things and just put their own, spin on it. Even Maangchi says herself, she doesn't actually like Spam, but when she had this dish, she was like, okay, I'm into this. Should we try it?
So this is Maangchi's.
That's real good. Pay attention to the texture of the broth and how velvety it is.
Is there like milk in there or something?
There is American cheese in it.
The victory of the baked beans is fading.
The American cheese just gets put on top and it kind of just melts together.
So let's taste mine now.
You really got a lot of the ingredients right. The fact that you even figured out it was a canned bean, you figured out the wheat noodle and the starch noodle, and also not wrong to think why not a canned fish of some sort, We were all really waiting for it and you got the mushroom.
The dashi
Yes.
with the anchovy.
You took the innards out, you took the heads off. You were supposed to par cook the pork belly in the dashi. To build this broth, you were supposed to make a seasoning paste with gochujang, gochugaru, soy sauce, sugar, and lots of raw garlic. So another thing that you did miss was green cabbage. So even if you got this after a piece of kimchi, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's another piece of kimchi. For ingredients, I'm giving you an 88.
Okay.
You gave yourself an 86.
All about that bean.
Technique, you gave yourself a 75. And I also gave you a 75.
Okay.
That was mainly based off of the fact that you didn't make a seasoning paste. You did get the dashi. You bring everything up to a rolling boil, and then you add your noodles. And they
Okay.
cook in this broth as well.
They do.
Yes. Appearance, you gave yourself an 88. I had to give you an 85. Only because you topped with scallions and radishes, and they were fresh on there while my greens were kind of slowly wilted in.
I mean,
For taste, you gave yourself a 90, and I'm giving you a 92. You did go for the gochujang, and that does have quite a bit of sweetness, and you have most of the ingredients correct. The final score from me is an 85,
okay.
which matches your score, which is an 85.
Could have cracked 90 on this one. It's almost the absence of technique. Kat, thank you so much for judging.
Thanks for having me.
Overall, like composition of the dish, appearance, flavor, so much of that was working in my favor. Trying to find the sweet spot of like leaning on the knowledge I have of technique and my own training and when to abandon it. The problem being that like if you are gonna abandon your own instincts, what do you replace them with? The ingredients supply so much of the flavor that you need that you can strip away technique and still arrive at something that's super delicious and yeah, just a super fun dish.